Good afternoon. Excited about the win on Saturday. Going back and looking at the film, I thought we played really well. Got off to a fast start, which we needed to do on all three phases. Offensively, getting the football and taking it down and scoring, and then having the big play right off the bat on defense. And then the special teams play, and it was 21-0 pretty quickly. And guys were really happy with their focus and the way they had great energy and emotion all throughout the first half. And only thing, a little bit of penalties in the second half that we need to clean up, but I thought the game was pretty much in hand at halftime. So we kind of shut some things down a little bit, but now we're moving on. Had a good non-conference, and feel like we're ready to go for the Valley. It's 8 one-week seasons, and everybody can beat anybody on any day, and I think everybody of the coaches and players know that. And so obviously we have a big one to start off with South Dakota State, and excited about the challenge that they bring, and it'll be a great football game here in the Fargo Dome. So open up for questions.
Coach, I think we talk about this every year when the conference season starts, how things change a little bit, starts to get amped up a little bit, just how things change maybe attitude-wise? Well,
everybody, I mean, that's our number one goal when we come into fall camp is to win the Missouri Valley. And if you do those things, you have an opportunity to set yourself up in the playoffs. And so that's why this week, just like the next week and so on and so forth, are so important. Is you can't skip a step. You have to prepare every day, and that's the challenge that we'll give to the guys today. Is you can't play the game today, can't play it tomorrow. You have to attack each day and prepare and be ready to go mentally and physically each day so that you learn your opponent and learn the game plan so you have a chance to be successful.
Chris, that this happens to be the first Valley game. I mean, I know it's just the next game on your schedule, but at the same time, to open conference play for the Markers, I think unique. Hasn't really happened before.
It is pretty unique. I don't know how the scheduling goes, and you're going to play them all anyway, and we know of the 8 that we are going to play. So whether it's the first or the 5th or the last, it's always a big game, and I know that their guys are going to be excited about it, so will ours.
Attack the film study with them, just with the limited stuff that you have and then the competition that they've played this season?
Well, when both of us play each other, we play each other so much, you have to look back at previous games. I'm sure they're doing the same. You look at this season, you look at last season, you look at games you played in 14 and 15. We look at them all, just like I'm sure they do. Both teams know each other so well. You're right, it's pretty limited on what you're gaining this year. You're looking at a little bit of personnel, but for the most part, you're shutting those films off pretty early, just like I'm sure they shut ours off pretty early from this year once the games got out of hand. And so you have to kind of go back on some of your recall from years past and see the things that maybe you were successful with, see the things that hurt you, that you weren't successful with, and know that they're going to try to do the same, and things that have hurt us before we're going to see again.
One of those where more than ever it's about yourselves, because as you said, you play each other so many times and they throw kind of the kitchen sink at you anyway. Yeah,
it just comes down to execution, both sides of the ball, and the simple things, blocking and tackling and making the routine plays. And special teams and turnovers will be critical, as they are in every game. But when you have two pretty evenly matched teams, it comes down to special teams and being able to flip the field here and there.
When you evaluate them without, how different are they without Goddard and Winnicky now?
I wish I could answer that, Dom. In 2 quarters of football, it's probably hard to get a great gauge on that.
Kate Johnson, though, how talented is he from what you've seen in the brief amount of time that he's played so far?
Yeah, he's an electric player. Great speed, really good hands, aggressive player. And he goes a million miles an hour, and he'll be a tough matchup for us. And so we'll have to find where he's at. And he's one of many guys that I know they're putting some new players out there, but they have really good skill kids.
It's the cat and mouse game with Christian, trying to bring pressure and keep him in the pocket when he can, go out and run as well, Chris.
Yeah, I think he's a terrific football player. He's played a ton of football, played against us so much. He can beat you with his arm. He can beat you with his legs. Really experienced guy. Have a lot of respect for him and his game. And so we have to do a great job of trying to keep him in the pocket, trying to pressure him, play great tight coverage. I mean, and if you do, then he's going to scramble and run. And obviously the dual threat guys are the ones that give you the most problems. I think that's why Easton's so successful too, is if you can run and scramble around in the pocket, then you have that added element that makes playing defense against that type of guy so difficult.
Obviously not stylistically similar to Pauly at all, but anything they do on offense that you got kind of a look at with either of the other two teams?
Not really. Not really.
Is Christian different now than he was when you first saw him a few years ago? Or is he different now?
Well, I think he's so much more mature, more comfortable in their system, in the fact that he's been doing this for an awful long time. All the RPOs that they're doing, he knows the reads, he sees things. Very similar to a lot of experienced guys in our league, and we've got a bunch of experienced quarterbacks. They just see these pictures over and over again, so they know where they're wanting to go with the football pre-snap. And so we have to do a really good job of not giving him an easy pre-snap picture, because if you do, I think he's a really talented guy that's going to pick you apart.
Do you guys have maybe an advantage in your mind with South Dakota State? The nature of the opponents they've played and the fact they're coming off a bye week and really haven't played much football this year, does that give you guys any sort of advantage?
You know, that's a good question. I'm not sure. You could flip it around and say they've got a great advantage because they're really fresh, and I'm sure they are fresh. So that'll just play itself out. Obviously, playing the 3 games as opposed to playing the 2. I think we've probably had more kids get into football games and play more snaps. That may be an advantage, but then you could say they're rested more. So once again, it's going to come down to both teams just knowing each other so well. You still have to be able to execute.
And Jabril this game, you did not have them. You had Jabril last year, but didn't play the first half and limited second half, didn't have Menard at all. How might that change?
Well, obviously it helps us a bunch. I mean, I think Jabril's one of the elite players in college football, and when we didn't have him for that first half, you're just kind of out of the game plan, and it just there was no flow for him, and we had to put some other guys in different positions. So having him, obviously, I think it gives our defense a lift. And then just Greg missing that game last year, I know how excited he is to play this week, just like he is on all the games when you miss a season. And hopefully those two guys can make a big impact.
You guys are very much a day-to-day, week-to-week program, but for the juniors and seniors, I mean, is there a little something extra here with South Dakota State having the Rock 2 years in a row?
Yeah, I'm sure there is. We'll visit about it a little bit today, but you can't get caught up into that too much. As far as you put too much emphasis in one game, then what are you going to do the next week? And what are you going to do the following week? And that's something that I think we've done a nice job of here of attacking each opponent differently, 1 week at a time. And, no question that they have the trophy that we'd like. We beat them in the playoff game, which was a big win for us as well. So, it's gone back and forth. And that's the thing that, going back to as long as I've been a part of this at North Dakota State, there have been really competitive games that have come down to 4 or 5 plays, dating all the way back to probably about 2013.
The last couple times you've played these guys, they've gotten out of the gates pretty fast, landed the first punch. Is it more important in a game like this to be the team that lands that first punch?
I don't know. Obviously, you always want to start fast, but to say, if we get a 7-0 lead, that's going to be the difference in it. Or if you get behind, we get behind 10-0 in the playoff game and won 36-10. So, you have to make sure and just understand what they're going to try to do. I think both sides of the ball, for us to be able to say, okay, here's how they're going to attack us. Offensively and defensively. Here's how we're going to attack them. What's the counterpunch? I think it's just such a back-and-forth game. The things you do in the first quarter, the things you do in the third quarter may change a little bit based on the flow of the game. But once again, it's tough because both teams know each other so well. There's very few things that you can throw at somebody that they haven't seen. Now, it may have been 5 years since we've seen that, but we've probably seen a lot of the things that they've shown us. It's just a matter of when are they going to pull them out. Same with us.
Last year, 5 turnovers against them. What do they do on the defensive side that might make it difficult for your offense?
Well, if you turn the football over, it doesn't matter. We were plus 3 or 4 on Saturday, and that was a big part of the game. You can't turn the football over to be successful, and you have to win explosive plays. And we did that on Saturday. We didn't do it the year before. And you can go down every game of college football that's been played. We've had a lot of success here because we've won the turnover margin and won the big play battle. And if you don't do those things, the chances of you being successful aren't very good. I think they do a good job of stripping the football and ball hawking things. They attack balls at the highest point. I thought they played a really good game against us last year and deserved to win.
What's one position group on defense that is particularly key to beating SDSU?
It's always our defensive line. It starts up front. You can say what's important on offense. You better be able to block them. And on defense, you better be able to try to control some of the run and get pressure on the pass with force. So you don't have to blitz all the time. The game's oftentimes won in the trenches. I know there's a lot of good skill kids on both sides of the or both teams, but the big boys up front are going to make a big impact on this game.
What's your plan on Seth Wilson, Chris?
I don't know. We'll find out if he can go this week. He jogged last week. We'll see where he's at.
Conference Player of the Week, where would you say that his level of play on Saturday was, kind of compared to the I mean, he seemed to be really sharp, and how important was that step forward in the passing game moving into conference play and even specifically against South Dakota State?
Well, he played at a high level, and we opened up some things for him too. We were really aggressive with him, and that was the idea of maybe showing a little bit more. We thought it was going to be a much more competitive game. I think all you guys did too, and so we showed an awful lot of things that we maybe had used in past games, past years. He has a pretty big memory bank, Easton does, and we dug into some of those things, some things that he liked, some things that Mess and Randy liked, and I thought he was just on point with his ability to throw the ball, his ability to scramble, his ability to keep plays alive has been really unique, and we all know how gifted he is athletically, but not only to be gifted athletically, but then keep your eyes downfield and be able to make some passes. I thought he was just on point on Saturday.
Last year against South Dakota State, Easton had a rough day. It stands out because it was such a tough day for him. Have you gone back, or has he gone back and looked at that day specifically to see what went wrong that day?
I know Easton has, and I think he'd be the first one to say he didn't play a very good game. And then that game, as well as subsequent games that we played against him, are all in the cut-ups. So you see those things, and you maybe see a tip of a coverage, something that maybe, or he stared at a defensive back or something. I mean, we all learn from our mistakes. I think that's what makes us so unique is how you respond when adversity hits. And he had adversity hit that game against South Dakota State, and he knew it. And then the next week, I think he was like 13 for 14 for 300 yards and played pretty well. So I know this. He's going to be prepared to play as best as he can play.
Getting back to Seth, is that 4-game thing on the radar with him?
It potentially could be, Jeff, just based on where he's at in the next 2 weeks.
Talk about the rivalry, how it's developed. It seems when these two schools went Division I a few years back, there was kind of this partnership spirit of us going together, and feels like maybe, at least from the outside, it's a little edgier than maybe it was a few years back. Do you sense any of that?
Well, because we've played each other so often, because of the playoffs, we've been paired with each other on numerous occasions. So then you just play each other more and more. I think they do a really good job in recruiting. We do a really good job in recruiting. We're going against each other on the same kids and stuff from a recruiting standpoint. The games have been really competitive. I think the fan bases are competitive. So that just kind of leads itself into being a really good game, a really good rivalry.
Chris, Dan Marlette didn't play in the game last year. Being a South Dakota kid, you get a sense that this week means more to him?
I'm sure it does. You guys can visit with him tomorrow. I'm sure it does because of the fact he's from Sioux Falls, and we have a number of South Dakota guys that whether they played or not, it just gives you a little bit more added value playing your state team. But we missed a number of guys that game, and he's another one. Raiden's another one that we're excited. Now those kids have to be playmakers for us to be successful. In big games like this, your players show up. Your big time players usually play well because they're so excited to play. But you still have to execute. You still have to play within the framework of what you do offensively and defensively. And if you try to do too much, then I think sometimes you make mistakes.
With Marlette, how's he played? What you've seen through the first 3 games?
He's played really well. He's further along, in my view, than I thought he would be from a health standpoint. We have seen no ill effects from the knee injury. He's run really well. He's really struck people. He's doing a nice job on the defense. He's lining people up. He's played, the significant amount of the snaps of when the game's in line. We haven't taken him out, and I think we all are assuming that everybody's going to play a full 4-quarter game, and that's one. There is no advantage there. We've played 3 games, they've played 2, but nobody's played a full game, and obviously that we need everybody to be able to play 4 quarters.
Your defensive background, when you have a player like Jabril, other teams have to account for. on the offensive side, how does that impact an offense where they've always got to be aware of where 42's at?
Well, we'll find out. I'll see what they do, but obviously for us, just putting him in positions where he can be an impact, and for us, that's been all over the place. We played him a lot at the inside linebacker position to move him from just being an outside or a field side linebacker. We ran him in the middle of the field in our Tampa 2 drop this past week. We blitzed him off the edge. We blitzed him inside. We put him into the boundary. We've done some different things so that people cannot try to find out, okay, you know where he's going to align, and I think that's been critical for us as well as for him, and a growth potential to say, yeah, I can understand all these things you're having me do defensively because you're trying to put me in the best place to be successful, and that's where I think he's taken his game to the next level. He understands our defense so well.
What's your assessment of your punter heading into the Valley?
I'm excited. I think Wags has done a really good job. I know he's averaging 40-plus yards. He had a really good punt on Saturday where it wasn't a great snap, and then I think he mishit one on a sky where he landed it in the end zone that I know he would have wanted back. But he's punting with great confidence, and that in the ability to flip the field and field position, whether it's on kickoffs or punts, I'm pleased with where we're at on both of those units. Obviously, it'll play a big factor, just like this past week. We had the big return for Darius. We need to try to have one of those explosive plays.
The new kickoff return rule has kind of limited Bruce and Ty in what they would normally be able to impact the game?
I can't answer that yet, simply because the kickoffs that we've received, we've been up by 30, and I did not want to have those guys take a shot. You know, it seems like the scores we gave up are always in the fourth quarter, and it's 49-3 or 38-10. I'm not bringing that out. And we didn't want to put a true freshman back there that's not had the ball in his hands back there. It's a dangerous play, and there's high collisions. Didn't want to have some kid get injured late in the fourth quarter, so that was our intent on those, just a fair catch. If we start a game or if it's a normal situation, Ross, we're bringing it out.
As far as true freshmen, you mentioned true freshmen. Is Phoenix kind of the only one that you are for sure that is just going to continue on and not worry about the 4-game rule?
Right now, that's the plan. But you know, we've been, knock on wood, in situations health-wise where we're okay.
These guys defensively, everybody talks about their offense, but what do you like about?
Yeah, a lot of returners. I think they're really good at linebacker, especially. Guys have been playing an awful long time. They're really sound in what they do. You know, they play their coverages, and everybody knows where each other fits. They're aggressive in their pass rush. You know, once again, from this year's standpoint, they've dominated the two opponents, so you can't tell a whole bunch from a personnel standpoint. But I know their defensive coordinator, he's done a great job there. I think they're extremely physical on defense. They're just doing everything else. They want to stop the run, and they have good corners to say, you know, are you going to be able to take a shot over the top and make plays?
Chris, Illinois State made it 9 years in a row that a Valley team has beaten FBS. As you get ready for Valley play, are there no surprises now to see that the league is as stout as it always is?
It really is. Yeah, I was really happy for Brock on that win. I was happy for Steck. You know, he got a big win over Northern Arizona the week before. There's really good teams in our league. And if you're not ready to play every Saturday, emotionally, physically, mentally, if you let up for a second, you're going to get beat. And so that's why nobody knows. Everybody thinks they know who the top teams are. There's a lot of good football teams out there, and I still go back to the thing we talked about in the fall. There's a lot of quality quarterbacks that have had a lot of snaps in our league, and if you've got a quality quarterback that makes good decisions with the football and doesn't turn it over and can make plays, you're going to have an opportunity to win every game.
At that point, do you think the crowd will have any effect then on Christian since he's been here and played well?
I think he'll have an effect, maybe not on Christian, but maybe on the offensive lineman, maybe on a wide receiver, maybe on a tight end, maybe on a motion or something. Fans, be as loud as we can, because it's a huge impact on the snap count, on motions, all that stuff. So, no, the crowd's going to be a huge impact.
Through 3 non-conference games, do you feel like you're sitting as well as you could be heading into conference play?
There's always things we would wish we were a little bit better at, but I like where we stand right now. But if we stay status quo, we're not going to be a very good team. We have to continue to grow. We have to continue to develop depth. We have to continue to make the routine plays, and we've got to limit mistakes, and we've had a few mistakes, whether it's a turnover, whether it's a penalty that stalled drives or extended drives. Those are the things that good football teams, as the season goes on, on ends up trying to eliminate.
Eliminate those penalties, especially 7 against.
Yeah, you know, an aggressive penalty on a holding, you're going to get called periodically. I think it's technique, some of it, and we'll address the technique errors that we had. There was one on Greg that I thought he timed it up really well, and that's part of the crowd factor. When that head goes up on a center and the ball moves, he's rolling, and those things are aggressive penalties that you don't like to see, but you can tolerate because the guys are playing really, really fast.
Isn't Marquise still kind of in a competition, or Marquise have a pretty good hold on that?
Well, we're going to continue to play all three of them. When we get to a tighter ball game, we'll kind of see how the flow of the game goes. But I've been pleased with both guys.
It's the PAT record. What can you say about his consistency?
Just so appreciate Cam. I know he's upset he missed the field goal late in the game, but he's made a lot of big kicks for us. Love being around him. He's got the right demeanor. He plays golf, so nothing bothers him, nothing rattles him. He enjoys the game. He works and helps Riney every day. He cheers for Riney. He knows Riney's going to be a good kicker. I just so appreciate my relationship and the time we've spent together.